Hello, friends. How long could you survive without food or water? A day? Maybe a week? What if some creatures on this planet can go without it for months, even years? From the burning deserts to the frozen edges of the earth, nature has built survivors that break every rule we thought we knew about life. Animals that slow their heartbeat to almost nothing, store water inside their bodies like living canteens, or bury themselves in silence, waiting for the world to wake up again. While they don't eat, don't drink, and yet they live on. You think you know what true endurance looks like? Wait until you meet these champions of survival. The animal kingdom is full of survivors with abilities that challenge everything we know about life itself. Some creatures can go days without food or water, others last for weeks, and a few can endure months or even years without a single sip or bite. They slow their hearts, lower their energy use, store water inside their bodies, and wait patiently while time passes by. These animals have evolved tricks that make them champions of endurance, living proof that survival isn't about strength alone, but about adapting in ways we can barely imagine. In this video, we'll meet the creatures that turn hunger and thirst into nothing more than a test they were born to win. When we think of survival, we picture strength, speed, or sharp claws. But the real masters of endurance win by doing the opposite. These animals slow down, shut off, or store what little they have to outlast nature's harshest challenges. From deserts with no rain for months to frozen wastelands where food vanishes, they've evolved secrets that let them go without eating or drinking for unimaginable lengths of time. In this story, we'll meet creatures that bend the rules of biology itself. Camels that can turn fat into water, snails that sleep for years, crocodiles, and snakes that can feast once and vanish into stillness for months. Bears that live half a year on nothing but stored energy, and even tiny beings that can survive droughts like living time capsules. Each one tells a part of the same story. That survival isn't just about what you have, but how you use it when the world gives you nothing. Imagine living in a world where your home is nothing more than a shallow scrape in the ground. Your chicks have no protection, and every fox, snake, dog, or bird of prey sees your nest as an easy snack. Now imagine you have no claws to fight back, no sharp beak to strike, no venom, no speed to escape with your young, only your mind and your courage. This is the daily life of the killdeer, a small ground-nesting bird whose entire survival strategy depends on trickery and sacrifice. When a predator approaches its nest, the killdeer doesn't flee and abandon its eggs, nor does it attack. Instead, it launches one of nature's most daring performances, the broken wing act. The bird suddenly stumbles away from its nest, dragging one wing on the ground, feathers spread awkwardly, crying out in distress. To a predator, it's a dream come true. An injured, helpless bird that can't fly, promising an effortless meal. Instinctively, the attacker switches focus, leaving the nest behind to chase what looks like easy prey. The killdeer continues its act, hopping, fluttering, sometimes collapsing in the dirt as if it's on the verge of death. Always moving just slowly enough to keep the predator's attention, but never too slow to be caught. Step by step, it lures the danger farther and farther from its vulnerable chicks. Then, when the nest is safely out of reach, the injured bird suddenly snaps out of its fake agony, takes to the sky with perfect wings, and vanishes, leaving the confused predator behind, fooled completely. Scientists have observed killdeer repeating this dangerous trick multiple times a day if threats keep coming. Each act is a calculated risk. One mistake, 1 second too slow, and the bird could become real prey. Yet, generation after generation, this bold strategy works, allowing countless chicks to hatch and survive, despite living in one of the most exposed nesting environments in the bird world. The intelligence behind this act is remarkable. The killdeer knows exactly how far to lead a predator before escaping, reading its speed and reactions, adjusting its movements like a skilled actor on stage. Some birds even fake injuries in multiple directions to confuse several attackers at once, creating a perfect diversion for their family to stay safe. This isn't instinct alone. It's tactical thinking, courage, and a willingness to put themselves in harm's way over and over again. The killdeer reminds us that true heroism in nature doesn't always roar or fight. Sometimes it limps, cries out, and pretends to be weak, turning cleverness into the ultimate shield against danger. Imagine standing in the middle of a battlefield, surrounded by predators, yet remaining so perfectly disguised that the enemy walks past without even realizing you exist. That's the genius of the stick insect, one of nature's finest masters of camouflage, a creature that survives by turning itself into something predators don't even notice. A twig, a branch, or a lifeless piece of plant. These insects are living illusions. Their entire bodies are shaped like sticks or leaves, complete with ridges, knots, and even markings that mimic bark imperfections or leaf veins. But their trick doesn't stop at looks alone. Stick insects know how to act the part. When the wind blows, they sway gently back and forth on their thin legs, perfectly imitating the motion of leaves or branches. To a hungry bird or lizard, they're nothing more than part of the scenery, invisible in plain sight. Some species go even further, changing color slightly over time to match the exact shade of the plants they live on. Scientists have observed stick insects freezing for hours without a twitch when danger approaches, knowing that even the smallest movement could give them away. If a predator gets too close, some species have evolved backup tactics. Certain stick insects will drop to the ground, staying completely still, pretending to be a fallen twig until danger has passed. Others shed a limb to escape a predator's grasp, later regenerating the lost leg as if nothing happened. Some even release foul-smelling chemicals to make themselves unappetizing in case they are discovered. Their mimicry is so advanced that even expert researchers sometimes struggle to spot them in the wild. Predators searching through branches often pass right over these insects, never realizing that a potential meal was right in front of their eyes. This strategy has kept stick insects alive for over 100 million years, allowing them to survive in forests full of birds, reptiles, and mammals that would otherwise devour them in seconds. Their entire existence is a game of patience and deception, showing that survival in nature doesn't always go to the strongest or fastest, but to those who can disappear completely. Watching a stick insect vanish into its environment is like seeing nature's version of magic. No special effects, no tricks, just a creature so perfectly adapted that it wins the fight for life simply by being impossible to find. Have you ever thought a tiny, fragile frog could outsmart predators not by running or fighting, but by playing one of the most convincing tricks in nature? Many frog species have mastered deception as their number one survival tool, using false signals, fake movements, and incredible disguises to turn hunters into the hunted or simply confuse them long enough to escape. One of the most remarkable examples is the red-eyed tree frog and other tropical species that perform a perfect act of distraction when danger closes in. Instead of fleeing immediately, which would expose them, these frogs stay perfectly still, blending with leaves using their green coloration, becoming invisible in plain sight. But when a snake, bird, or larger lizard gets too close, the frog suddenly opens its eyes wide, flashing bright red or yellow colors on its limbs, startling the predator for a crucial second. That single moment of confusion is all it needs to leap to safety. Other frogs use an even more cunning approach. Some play dead, flipping onto their backs, remaining motionless, letting predators believe they are already rotting or toxic. Many amphibians release unpleasant-smelling secretions when threatened, selling the act with perfect realism. Predators that rely on movement and smell lose interest, thinking the prey is unfit to eat. Some frogs combine trickery with mimicry, flattening their bodies or inflating themselves to look larger and more dangerous, while others imitate leaves, bark, or even bird droppings, making hunters look right past them without realizing their meal is inches away. There are species like the false-eyed frog that have large spots on their hind legs, resembling the eyes of a much bigger animal. When they feel threatened, they lift their legs, showing these fake eyes to terrify or confuse attackers, making them think they're facing a dangerous predator instead of a small amphibian. Scientists have observed frogs using these tactics repeatedly, switching between staying invisible, pretending to be dead, or performing sudden, shocking displays depending on which enemy approaches. It's not brute force or fast legs that keep these fragile creatures alive in forests full of hunters. It's pure strategy, a performance honed by evolution to trick even the smartest predator. In a world where a split-second decision decides who eats and who escapes, frogs prove that cleverness, illusion, and a perfectly timed lie can be more powerful than claws or teeth. Their tricks may look simple to us, but they are a masterpiece of survival theater, played out night after night on the rainforest stage, where every jump could be the last if not for the power of deception. At first glance, a frog doesn't look like an animal built for extreme endurance, but some species have evolved survival tactics so powerful they can live nearly a year without a single meal or drop of water, turning themselves into living stones waiting for the world to change. One of the most impressive examples is the African bullfrog. When the blazing sun dries up its ponds and rain won't come for months, this frog doesn't panic or search endlessly for water. It simply burrows deep underground and enters a state of suspended life. Hidden beneath the soil, it begins to shed layers of skin that harden around its body like a tough cocoon, sealing in precious moisture and preventing deadly dehydration. Inside this self-made capsule, its heartbeat slows, its breathing becomes nearly undetectable, and it waits, surviving on tiny reserves of stored energy while the outside world turns to dust. Scientists have recorded these frogs staying hidden for almost a year without food or water, emerging only when the rains return to flood the land again. The moment it feels the vibrations of distant thunder or the first drops of moisture seep into the ground, the frog awakens, pushing through the earth, shedding its cocoon, and leaping back to life as if time had stood still. This ability is not just impressive, it's critical for survival in one of the harshest environments on Earth, where ponds can vanish for months and food disappears entirely. The frog's body is built for this challenge. It can reduce its energy use to almost nothing, recycle fluids internally, and endure conditions that would kill most creatures in days. Even its organs are protected during this long hibernation, staying perfectly preserved despite the brutal heat and lack of water. Imagine sleeping for a year, not eating, not drinking, yet waking up ready to hunt and mate within hours. That's the kind of biological magic these frogs perform. They are a living reminder that survival doesn't always mean fighting or running. Sometimes it means knowing when to stop, shut down, and wait for the world to become safe again. In deserts and dry savannas, where life vanishes and only dust remains, these frogs hide beneath the earth like time travelers, proving that endurance isn't just about strength. It's about mastering patience on a level few other animals can match. What if you could transform your entire body in the blink of an eye, becoming invisible to enemies, or even turning into something far more terrifying than yourself? For the octopus, this isn't science fiction. It's an everyday survival strategy, perfected over millions of years. Living in oceans full of predators like sharks, moray eels, and barracudas, the octopus relies on intelligence and trickery to stay alive. Its skin is packed with millions of specialized cells called chromatophores and papillae that can instantly change color, pattern, and even texture, allowing it to disappear against rocks, sand, or coral reefs. One moment it's a moving shadow on the ocean floor, the next it's a lump of algae swaying with the current, completely fooling predators. Some octopus species take deception even further, mimicking deadly sea creatures to scare off attackers, spreading arms to imitate venomous lionfish, flattening its body to look like a poisonous flatfish, or slithering in patterns that make it appear as a sea snake, one of the most feared creatures of the ocean. But camouflage is just the first layer of its genius. When discovered, the octopus releases a dark cloud of ink, not just to hide visually, but to overload the predator's sense of smell and taste, creating confusion and buying precious seconds to flee. Their flexible, boneless bodies can squeeze through cracks no bigger than their beak, escaping places where no other animal could follow. They're not just escape artists, they're problem solvers. Scientists have documented octopuses opening jars, unlocking containers, navigating complex mazes, and even playing with objects, showing a level of thinking and memory on par with higher mammals. Some have been seen stacking rocks to block predators from entering their dens, or collecting coconut shells to assemble instant portable shelters. These creatures plan, adapt, and outwit attackers in ways that seem almost human. An octopus doesn't just run from danger, it studies its enemy, creates illusions, manipulates its environment, and vanishes in plain sight. Watching one change shape and color, outmaneuvering larger, faster hunters, feels like witnessing living magic. Except this magic is real, an evolutionary masterpiece of survival intelligence honed over countless generations. In the wild, where speed and brute strength often rule, the octopus proves that the sharpest weapon can be a quick mind and the ability to make predators doubt what they see, hesitate for a second too long, and lose their chance at a kill. Have you ever seen an animal so dedicated to staying alive that it literally builds its own disguise from the world around it? The decorator crab is one of nature's most brilliant survival artists, turning itself into a living piece of the ocean floor to escape predators that would otherwise make a quick meal of it. This small crab doesn't rely on speed or strength. Instead, it uses ingenuity and resourcefulness that rivals human creativity. With its hooked hairs covering its shell, the decorator crab collects pieces of seaweed, sponges, shells, coral fragments, and even toxic organisms, attaching them carefully to its body like a custom-made camouflage suit. It doesn't just grab anything nearby. It chooses its decorations based on what will best protect it in that specific environment. If the seabed is covered with algae, the crab becomes a patch of green fuzz. If it lives among corals, it builds a crown of colorful fragments to blend in perfectly. In waters where predators rely on smell as much as sight, the decorator crab adds pieces of noxious sponges or stinging anemones, creating a living shield that not only hides it visually, but makes it dangerous to touch. Scientists observing these crabs have seen them constantly adjusting and repairing their camouflage, replacing old materials with fresh ones, making their disguise even better over time. Some individuals have been recorded taking hours to prepare after molting, knowing that until their shell is decorated, they are exposed and vulnerable. This isn't blind instinct. It's behavior that shows planning and problem-solving, a conscious effort to change appearance based on threat levels. Predators like octopuses, fish, and larger crabs often pass right by without noticing anything unusual, missing the crab entirely because it has become part of the scenery. And if danger gets too close, the decorator crab can freeze, relying entirely on its disguise, confident that its carefully built costume makes it invisible. In the vast and competitive world of the ocean, where almost everything eats something smaller, the decorator crab survives not with armor or speed, but with craftiness, turning the materials of its home into a personal fortress. It's proof that sometimes the smartest way to survive isn't to fight or flee. It's to disappear so completely that danger never even knows you were there. Have you ever thought that the best way to survive isn't to fight, flee, or hide, but to become so invisible that predators never realize you're alive at all? That's the secret of the Mata Mata turtle, a creature that looks less like an animal and more like a piece of the swamp itself. Found in the slow-moving rivers and marshes of South America, this turtle has turned camouflage into a full-body masterpiece, making it one of the most deceptive reptiles in the world. At first glance, a Mata Mata turtle doesn't resemble a turtle at all. Its flat, triangular head is covered in flaps of rough, knobby skin. Its long neck looks like a twisted branch, and its brown, jagged shell is shaped like a rotting leaf floating on water. Algae often grows on its back, blending it even further into the murky environment. To any predator swimming by, it's just another piece of debris, not worth a second glance. But this disguise isn't just for hiding, it's also a deadly hunting strategy. Mata Matas are ambush predators that use patience as their greatest weapon. They stay perfectly still for hours, waiting for unsuspecting fish or amphibians to come close, believing the leaf nearby is harmless. In a split second, the turtle stretches its long neck, opens its wide, vacuum-like mouth, and sucks in its prey with incredible force, swallowing it whole before the victim realizes what happened. Scientists have studied mata-matas and discovered that their entire body design is specialized for this trickery. Their flat heads reduce water disturbance when they strike, and their camouflage is so effective that even experienced divers have mistaken them for dead vegetation. Predators often swim past without noticing them, and prey have no chance of escape until it's too late. This dual use of deception, fooling both enemies and victims, makes the mata-mata turtle a true master of survival without speed, strength, or armor. In nature, where countless creatures rely on brute force or quick reflexes, this turtle has chosen a different path. It becomes part of the environment itself, untouchable and overlooked, turning invisibility into its ultimate defense. Watching a mata-mata turtle in its natural habitat is like looking at a swamp floor come to life, a living ghost of the water, proving that in the wild, sometimes the smartest way to survive is to make the world forget you're even there. What would you do if every predator that tried to eat you regretted it instantly? The bombardier beetle has mastered one of the most shocking and clever survival tricks in the insect world, turning its own body into a living chemical weapon that sends attackers running in pain and confusion. This small, unassuming beetle doesn't look dangerous, but hidden inside its abdomen are two chemical chambers filled with harmless liquids. When threatened by frogs, spiders, lizards, or even curious mammals, the beetle mixes these chemicals in a special reaction chamber, creating an explosive, boiling spray of toxic, foul-smelling gas. With perfect aim, it blasts this hot, corrosive liquid directly at its enemy, causing instant burning sensations and driving predators away before they can take another bite. The spray is powerful enough to deter animals much larger than the beetle itself and can even kill small attackers outright. Scientists have studied this incredible defense and found that the beetle's system functions like a miniature chemical cannon, complete with a safety valve, mixing chamber, and directional nozzle. It can fire multiple bursts in rapid succession, aiming with astonishing precision, hitting enemies directly in the eyes or mouth to make sure they never try again. What makes this strategy so brilliant is how it changes the rules of survival for such a tiny creature. Most insects rely on hiding or running when danger comes, but the bombardier beetle fights with deception and shock, making predators believe they've bitten into something toxic and deadly. Many predators learn after just one encounter to avoid these beetles entirely, remembering the awful experience and giving the species a reputation that protects even those that never had to fire a shot. In nature, where being small usually means being eaten, this beetle has flipped the balance of power by using chemistry as a weapon of fear. It doesn't have claws, venom fangs, or wings to escape danger fast, but it has a mind-bending trick that keeps it alive, turning its own body into a bomb that says to the entire food chain, "Try me once and you'll never forget it." What would you do if your only hope of survival was to convince a predator that you were already dead, poisonous, and not worth eating? The hognose snake has turned this bizarre idea into an art form, performing one of nature's most convincing death scenes whenever danger gets too close. At first, this snake tries to avoid a fight by flattening its neck like a miniature cobra, hissing loudly and striking without biting. A bluff meant to scare predators into leaving. But if that act doesn't work, it takes things to a whole new level. The hognose snake suddenly flips onto its back, its mouth opens wide, tongue lolls out, its body goes limp, and to complete the illusion, it releases a foul, rotten smell from its glands, making predators believe it's not just dead, but decaying and unsafe to eat. Even the most determined hunters, from birds to mammals, usually recoil and walk away, convinced the snake is already a toxic, spoiled meal. Scientists have observed hognose snakes repeating this act over and over if a predator tries to check whether it's real, sometimes twisting into unnatural positions, belly up, jaw gaping, like a professional actor refusing to break character. What's fascinating is that this isn't blind instinct. The snake seems to judge the situation carefully, choosing bluff strikes first, then faking death only as a last resort, saving its most dramatic trick for when nothing else works. And when the danger is gone, the performance ends instantly. The snake flips over, closes its mouth, and slithers away as if nothing happened, ready to live another day. This act has fooled countless predators for millions of years, proving that survival isn't always about being the strongest or fastest hunter. Sometimes it belongs to the one who can sell the best lie, a lie so convincing that even nature's top killers hesitate, confused, giving just enough time for escape. The hognose snake shows us that in the wild, the smartest survivor is often not the one who fights the hardest, but the one who knows how to make its enemies believe the fight is already over. The emperor penguin might look like a symbol of endurance simply for surviving the brutal Antarctic winter, but its real feat goes far beyond icy winds and frozen oceans. These birds can endure up to 4 long months without a single bite of food or drop of water, standing in temperatures that can plunge below 60 degrees Celsius, carrying the future of their species on their feet. When the female lays her single egg, she leaves for the distant ocean to feed, and the male takes on the ultimate test of survival. He balances the fragile egg on his feet, tucking it under a warm flap of skin, and then he waits. For over 120 days, he doesn't eat, doesn't drink, barely moves, surviving entirely on the fat stored in his body before the long vigil begins. The Antarctic storms whip around him at hurricane force, the cold cuts like knives, and still he stands, huddling with thousands of other males in tightly packed circles, taking turns in the center to share the little warmth their bodies produce. Scientists have measured that emperor penguins lose almost half their body weight during this fast, yet their bodies are miracles of conservation. Slowing metabolism, recycling water from fat breakdown, and using every last calorie for survival and for keeping their chick alive. They don't hunt, they don't search for water, they simply endure, day after endless day, in one of the most hostile places on the planet. When the females finally return, fat from weeks of feeding at sea, the males have gone without food for up to 4 months, often over 100 days in the worst conditions, and many have not taken a sip of water during that entire time. Some collapse as soon as their duty is over, completely drained, while others immediately march toward the ocean to refill their empty reserves. This staggering display of endurance isn't just about individual survival. It's about absolute devotion to the next generation, a sacrifice unmatched in the animal kingdom. Every year, emperor penguins prove that true strength isn't only in power or speed. Sometimes it's the ability to stand still, resist hunger, thirst, and unimaginable cold, and not give up until the job is done. These birds live on the very edge of what life can endure, surviving where almost nothing else can, turning every breath, every heartbeat into an act of willpower against nature's most brutal test. What would you do if your only way to survive was to turn yourself into something too big and too scary to swallow? For the pufferfish, this bizarre but brilliant strategy is its ticket to life in oceans full of predators. Normally, a pufferfish is a small, harmless-looking creature drifting close to coral reefs. But the moment danger approaches, it transforms. Its body has evolved an extraordinary defense mechanism. It gulps massive amounts of water or air, expanding to several times its normal size in just seconds. Suddenly, what looked like an easy meal becomes a spiky, unmanageable balloon. Many predators, startled or unable to bite down, give up immediately, and the pufferfish swims away alive. Some species take this defense further with sharp spines that pop out as the fish inflates, turning their soft, harmless-looking bodies into floating armored balls that can injure a predator's mouth. But size isn't their only trick. Pufferfish also carry one of the most potent natural toxins on Earth, tetrodotoxin, in their skin and organs. Even if a predator manages to grab them, it risks a deadly dose of poison that can paralyze or kill within minutes. This makes most attackers learn fast to never try a pufferfish twice. What makes this strategy so remarkable is how well-timed and controlled it is. Pufferfish don't stay inflated long. It's exhausting and risky for their bodies. But they do it with perfect timing, waiting until the last possible second when a predator lunges. Researchers observing wild pufferfish have seen them outsmarting larger hunters, hiding briefly, and then inflating in narrow spaces where they wedge themselves like a living barricade impossible to pull out. This combination of deception, size manipulation, and chemical warfare makes the pufferfish one of the most cunning survivors in the ocean. It doesn't fight back with teeth or speed, but with shock, surprise, and a body that says, "Try me and regret it forever." In a world where being small usually means being prey, the pufferfish has flipped the rules of survival, proving that sometimes the smartest escape is to become a nightmare. No predator wants to bite twice. Have you ever imagined escaping death not by running or fighting, but by tricking your enemy into believing you're something far more dangerous than you really are? Many butterflies have mastered this art of deception, turning their delicate, colorful wings into shields of illusion that keep predators away. To a bird or lizard, a butterfly might seem like an easy meal, fragile and defenseless, but what they see isn't always what they think. Certain butterfly species have large eye-like patterns on their wings, known as false eyes, that make them look like much bigger, more threatening creatures. When danger approaches, the butterfly suddenly flashes these giant eye spots by spreading its wings wide, creating the terrifying illusion that the predator is staring into the gaze of an owl, a snake, or another powerful hunter. In an instant, the attacker hesitates, startled and confused, giving the butterfly the perfect chance to escape unharmed. But the tricks don't stop there. Some butterflies take camouflage to the next level, folding their wings to resemble dried leaves, bark, or even bird droppings, becoming practically invisible when they rest. Predators scanning for food see nothing but debris or waste, never realizing a living meal is right in front of them. Other species mimic the colors and patterns of poisonous butterflies, despite being harmless themselves. Birds that have tasted or witnessed the real toxic version learn to avoid that pattern for life, sparing the mimic species without them ever having to fight or flee. Scientists call this Batesian mimicry, an evolutionary masterpiece where survival is built on reputation and trickery rather than strength. In tropical rainforests, butterfly deception becomes a full show. Some species flip their wings to alternate between camouflage and warning patterns in a split second, dazzling predators and creating a confusing visual storm that makes it almost impossible to follow their movements. Every false eye, every fake wing pattern, every leaf-like disguise is part of a long evolutionary game of outsmarting hunters, turning vulnerability into an advantage. These insects survive not because they're fast or strong, but because they've learned how to control what predators believe, rewriting the story of life and death with a simple, perfect lie painted on their wings. Watching a butterfly escape danger this way is like seeing nature's own sleight of hand, a silent, breathtaking trick that leaves even the fiercest hunters second-guessing what's real and what's an illusion. Have you ever wished you could vanish before danger even noticed you? The chameleon has turned this wish into a reality, evolving one of nature's most sophisticated camouflage systems that makes it nearly untouchable in the wild. This reptile doesn't rely on speed or strength to escape predators. Instead, it bends light, changes colors, and manipulates its own appearance to become part of its surroundings, turning invisibility into a survival weapon. The secret lies in its remarkable skin, layered with special cells called chromatophores and nanocrystals that reflect and absorb light in different ways. With a simple adjustment of muscle tension, a chameleon can shift from green to brown, yellow, orange, or even display multiple colors at once. This isn't just a passive reaction to temperature or mood. It's an active, deliberate choice to match the environment, confuse predators, and even communicate with other chameleons. When a bird of prey circles above, or a snake slithers nearby, the chameleon freezes completely, skin blending into leaves, branches, or bark so perfectly that it disappears from sight. Some species take this trick further, subtly changing shades throughout the day as the light shifts, staying invisible no matter how the forest transforms around them. Scientists have studied wild chameleons and found that their camouflage is incredibly precise, adjusting not only color but patterns, creating fake shadows or highlights to mimic sunspots on leaves. This isn't their only clever trick. Chameleons use stillness as a weapon, moving so slowly that predators struggle to detect motion. Their bodies can rock gently, mimicking the sway of branches in the wind, making them indistinguishable from the foliage. Their independently moving eyes give them a full 360-degree view without moving their heads, allowing them to scan for threats while remaining perfectly still. When cornered, some chameleons switch tactics, flashing bright, bold colors to startle predators or signal that they might be poisonous or dangerous, buying enough time to escape. The brilliance of the chameleon's survival strategy is that it doesn't fight danger directly. It avoids it altogether, making predators waste energy searching for a meal that's right in front of them. This incredible adaptation has kept chameleons alive for millions of years in forests, deserts, and grasslands full of hungry hunters. Watching a chameleon vanish into its background feels like magic, but it's nature's ultimate mind game. A living creature turning light and color into a shield, proving that in the wild, survival often belongs to those who can fool the eye, not just outrun the claw. They say survival is about strength or speed, but these animals prove it's about something far more powerful: the ability to outlast the impossible. We've seen camels crossing burning deserts without a drop of water for weeks, crocodiles turning one meal into life for months, and snails sealing themselves away to sleep through years of drought. Sharks and snakes can feast once and disappear for entire seasons, while scorpions wait in stillness for a year on nothing but patience. Emperor penguins stand in brutal storms for 4 months without food. Frogs entomb themselves underground to wait out a dead earth, and spiders hide in silence for half a year, surviving on a single lucky hunt. Bears turn their own fat into fuel for 7 long months of hibernation. Tortoises carry their water inside. Sloths live in slow motion on almost nothing, and albatrosses cross oceans, surviving on hope and endurance. Each one reveals a truth about life we often forget. Survival isn't just about fighting or winning. It's about knowing how to last when the world gives you nothing at all, turning time, patience, and adaptation into the greatest superpowers nature ever created. We like to believe survival is a matter of willpower, but these animals prove it's something far greater. A delicate balance between biology, adaptation, and time itself. Their ability to endure weeks, months, even years without food or water reshapes what we think life needs to keep going. It shows that intelligence isn't only about thought, and strength isn't only about force. True power can be quiet, hidden in the ability to wait, to stretch a single drop of water, a single meal, into life itself. These creatures are living proof that nature doesn't follow human rules. It writes its own, turning emptiness into opportunity and scarcity into survival. They remind us that life can persist in places where everything said it shouldn't. That sometimes the greatest victory is simply staying alive when the world tries to erase you. In the end, these endurance champions challenge us to see survival not as a fight, but as an art. One perfected long before we ever learned to call ourselves resilient. We've just witnessed some of nature's toughest survivors, animals that can defy hunger, thirst, and time itself, proving that life finds a way even in the harshest, most impossible conditions. From deserts with no rain to frozen wastelands, from the depths of the oceans to the endless skies, these creatures have turned endurance into their ultimate weapon, rewriting everything we thought we knew about survival. If this video opened your eyes to just how incredible the natural world can be, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that reveal nature's hidden power, and share this with someone who needs to see what true resilience looks like. Now it's your turn. Which of these animals impressed you the most? Which one would you never want to trade places with? And do you know of another champion of survival we should include next time? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because the world is full of untold stories of life pushing past the limits, and together we'll uncover them all.